saw one of them wait here a couple of years ago between
Was that
my
right?
wife, my daughter, Alicia's taking out advanced biology. She was going to get pictures of snakes since we're heading over to Dumps Lake between Plain and Loganville. I saw it across the road way up ahead of us. I was just walking, I'm like, holy crap, somebody's cow's out. I get up on it, like, and I realized we were still ways off. I realized what it was. I told Alicia, get your phone ready, get your phone ready. And then I got head right up and it just walked down in the edge of the cornfield and stood there and watched this a yearling buck, this little forkhorn.
It's still pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's
They're cool just to see,
they're
period.
cool.
I almost hit him on a 6-point buck this morning. Had the bell down.
Keep the distance kind of close.
Yeah.
Right, Julie?
I am ready, thank you.
We will call the meeting of the Building and Grounds Committee to order. It is Tuesday, July 6th, and it is 6:04 p.m. Verification of the meeting notice. I know it's posted on the web. And find there, approve the agenda. I don't see any additions or corrections to the agenda as presented. I am the only one in attendance, so we won't have necessarily a motion.
No. I just write approved.
Item 4, continued business. 4.1, expansion discussion, developing a long-term plan. 4.11, daycare addition to the community gym.
Okay, so if you're okay with it, I'd like to start with the plan. Wow, it's really huge now. Let me get this out of the way. I don't need to be in here. So first of all, we have to acknowledge everything that we've gotten done. And so what we have left is bus shed, oops, roof only. We always try and budget for a new bus, but we got 2 last year, so snow plow truck is a possibility. Larry's busy quite often during the day. I don't even know if you guys would have time to do the plowing, Frank, but it's still on here. The amphitheater got electricity. They figured out the frozen pipe, the track and more land is one thing. Oops, I changed it. Undo. I don't know how I like that. Nope, that's not what I want. So of all the green, we got a lot done.
Yep.
Then of the orange, we have a little bit of this done too. So there was no room for storage, and Frank, when Andy was here, we cleaned, and then Frank has kept it clean. And so we do still need some office space. We still need some classrooms. We still need choir, but we think we have it figured out this year. The locker rooms are too small. Again, that I don't take anything off. Storage area for the family and consumer science room, auditorium. Well, we put money into the old gym. High school special education room is too small. Shop is woodworking, welding in the same area, and we'd like to improve it, make it bigger, and a larger weight room. So that, moving the title teacher closer to the 4K population. So she has since moved. So she is sharing. We put Mrs. Newkirk in the corner room here where Mr. Lane was. That was middle school reading. And we moved Mrs. Plunkett into that room also. So that room is split between title and GT. So Mrs. Plunkett is out of the workroom. So now there's room in the workroom because she had tons of supplies. And we put Chase Schmidt. I don't want to misspeak your name, into the special education classroom, which is one of the bigger classrooms in the middle school. And we put the special education teacher in a smaller classroom across the hall, my own room. So I'm like, hey, I had used it. Made one person unhappy on that move, but she doesn't have large groups. She doesn't, if she has to have a study hall, she'll just use whatever room's open that hour.
I think she's over.
I think once we get it the way she wants it, I think she'll see it's big enough for a classroom for the number of students she has on her caseload. It might become too small, like Matt's room's too small because he's got 30 kids in his caseload. So, and we left this one here too. She's okay with this office, but if we're gonna do something, adding an office is kind of an obvious.
Yeah.
All right, so we got the WAPs done. Some of the stuff like these are kind of done, but we didn't really, they're not 100% done. We've started in its process. So the only thing that we haven't done in this section is the internet speed. And Adam, and I check with him about every other month, he has given what we need to have done to both of the people, and they have not gotten back. And then like every other month, he sends them an email and says, hey, do you have any idea if you can go forward on this? Have you talked about it? Because we need like 24 hours surveillance of the web and all that kind of stuff. So
something like that, I guess, I mean, I know Dave Banger, but
Yeah.
the Laval telephone, if we, I guess, I'll talk to Adam when he gets back from vacation, that if he wants me to put a little prod under him, I used to do that with Laval, even though I know Dave a long time. Went to school here with him.
Yep.
I mean, both of them I know are busier than
correct.
crap right now. I saw Laval telephone down shooting fiber through, and then Dave's off running down in the Bear Valley, and then they had a guy, they were out by going up Little or on Double N. Then today or yesterday, my daughter and wife said, so we're hoping that they might run. But he contacted me about extending internet service into Grant, Iowa, Lafayette further.
Yeah.
And tapping into new areas. So I mean, these guys are going hell bent for election, and the state, they're trying to prepare themselves because all the federal dollars, state dollars, they're getting put into this now.
So you gotta do it now, or 3 years from now, it's not gonna be there.
Correct. It's not. This is one time. At least the state, I think, will continue to fund it, but you're even seeing now changes that, whereas, and Senator Markland talked to me about it, they're changing it from underserved to unserved, and that could certainly impact, well, it won't impact Ithaca per se, because we would not be considered underserved even if we were before. Now with the 2 fibers going through here, the PSC would look at it and say, well, they're not unserved and they're not underserved, but there are areas, I'm waiting to see on the PSC, because now they're changing the speed requirements. That It was this speed, and now they're saying this is the speed that the feds want to consider for high-speed internet. Well, hell, I just like to have something. I mean, I do. I have wireless. I have through Banger, and it's worked fine. But still, fiber in the ground is still your Cadillac.
Yeah.
And the speeds there still are considered slow by standards, but it does what we need.
So really, we've gotten all of this done except for that, and that makes sense.
Good.
And again, still to be addressed or whatever, and I don't know why these are highlighted. I just left it. So, nothing new here. We did get the water drainage from the high school bathrooms. He figured that out. Chris's smell in her room again, Frank figured that out. I still remember when he hollered, I jumped out of my nuts. I thought somebody was being attacked.
The highlight of that.
The highlight. He literally screamed, and I'm like, what are we being attacked? What? Anyway, and then the front entrance was the add-on. So what I'd like to do, and part of that, what I'd like to do is like add all of this to it.
Yes, I would concur with that.
To make it, a full list again.
And we can modify that as we see, even like the Air Ion system. I like to just have a brief double chat briefly about that. I'll go down the list here, but absolutely, I think that's a very good idea, because this has been discussed time and time again as a need.
Yep.
And it needs to be in your capital improvement plan.
Yep.
Absolutely does.
So again, really quickly, daycare, that is something that Kathleen and I feel is needed for our own staff.
Okay.
If we want to retain staff, daycare is where we're going to get them.
How many children do you think, that how much staff would you need or personnel need to occupy you know, when we start talking infants, it's always if we're following the state guidelines. Infants are always like one provider to, I don't know if it's three or four.
I'm getting information on that. I have no idea. I talked to a lady today and I said, I've never run a daycare. I have no idea
Get
how
them
it works.
older, then you can,
Right,
one person can
right.
cover, you know, more kids.
right.
so
And
it's-
so that, you know, that would need a spot because we couldn't have that in the building as it is. That would need a spot. Additional space for choir. Again, I'd love to have an amphitheater, but we did figure out the crush. Jesse has a gym class every other day. And the other day is gonna be full choir.
Okay.
So they're gonna use the gym for full choir. I'm like, that's brilliant. So we had a lot of different discussions about that one. So that is again a Band-Aid for that
Yeah.
spot, but it's gonna work. Yeah. Increasing shop space, that's, I added some stuff on the new business.
Yep.
Air ion system.
Where, I mean, from my perspective right now, and I've had discussion with one or two other board members. I continuously, whenever I see that brought up, and you brought up an article, like an aircraft or something like that effect. I'm not necessarily convinced that that system is the cat's meow, that it is effective. And I talked about this in a previous board meeting, but the more
Yep.
information that I receive and look and find, I become less and less convinced of it as an investment for the school. Now, I'm not going to say it doesn't work to some effect, but you know, if it kills, you know, or captures, you know, 20 viruses, but there's still 50,000 viruses floating around or whatever, you know, they can say, well, it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, but is that the most efficient? That's where I've asked you the question about if we, you know, our plan is to use ESSER money on that, could we find some other use for ESSER funds for those? But it is one of those things that we're going to have a hard decision fairly quickly with the school board. And it's a go or no go. And right now, as I'm a little pessimistic about what I've been, based on what I've been reading, that this is the way to go, but I'm certainly open to being swayed the other direction.
Now, Randy Manning mentioned about it.
Yep, and I still like to do that.
Okay. I talked to DJ McNamer.
Okay,
That's kind of equivalent to our school district.
Yeah.
And he said, anytime you guys want to come over, he says, I'll be glad to show you around, tell you what I know and so forth. He's very high on it.
Okay.
Now, he said that it produces more negative ions than positive. You know, that's not the same story we got from Don, and this is put in by precision control. But he said he would be one happy, so just let him know, and he said he'll show us around.
First day it pours rain.
and that's really what, from respects to Randy, my schedule's pretty open. If I had a couple days notice, but even at last minute notice, I can possibly rearrange my schedule at this time. But
And they all have to do is make a phone call, and you say yes or no.
Right,
Randy and Bob are the ones that really, if we get at least two of the, building grounds along with you there, that's not a bad drive, and it's not, I don't anticipate it being really an extensively long visit there. It wouldn't necessarily consume your entire day or anybody's entire day.
And now, Kickapoo, he says 130,000 square.
What's this?
71,000.
Well, but we wouldn't do it down there, right?
No,
Yeah,
that's
91,000 with both.
Oh,
Right.
It's only
okay.
20,000.
Yep.
So, and that's why we.
All right.
All right.
So that's still on there. Library expansion, again, I just left it on there. Need more high school classroom space. Showers in the bathrooms for weight rooms.
Okay, it's awful hard for me to get anything from just Jeff Foster right now, because he's very busy and he's having a hard time getting material, just like everybody else. I mean, we had to talk to the bleachers today. I called on them. They're gonna get these 2 more weeks because they couldn't get material. Anyway, I went and sent an email or a text to Foster, and I asked him if he'd give us a bid. I said, it doesn't have to, you don't have to break anything down or whatever, just give us an overall bid. you know, it's gonna cost 30,000, 50,000, whatever, at least we'll have an idea. And he hasn't done that. Now, he did bring the shower cartridge up.
I was gonna ask you about that.
He brought that up and he went to put it in and he didn't send it apart. So we had to do it. And again, we ordered one. If it works, then we ordered 21
Right.
more.
I thought of that just a week ago. I said, I wonder how that went. Like, and it's like, I
So
was gonna ask you.
disappointing.
Yeah,
And again, Jeff has been great for us. We just happened to have a plug sewer down in that bus burn. And he came right out and took care of it and so forth. So I'm looking for him to answer me pretty soon and then probably come up with that other part and then we'll see.
And that's what I said to Frank, I said, give us just a ballpark.
Yeah.
Because we can put it on if we know it's gonna be about 30 or 50 or 100 to do that. At least then we have some idea of what it's gonna cost.
that's really what we need. an idea to be
Yeah,
able
I
to-
said, for him to sit on an itemized, that would make no sense
Yeah,
because
at this
that,
stage.
yeah, but we trust it, we trust the, and we know, we would know that it might go up, might go down, depends on the price, you know,
Now,
all
the
of that.
first thing he did mention, though, that he said it's gotta be handicap accessible.
Yep,
So, I mean, you know, that's,
Ooh,
yeah,
that
that's,
might be, that might kill the project there.
well,
The
yeah,
cost to-
I just
Cost to
wanted,
make things ADA compliant.
yeah, that's what I wanted to bring up to you because I
A
talked
door.
to Julie about it.
This door, I'm dealing with that in Possible, just have 88 doors. Those were not, that's tens of thousands.
Yeah.
Bring it. That's a good point, Frank.
and see, but there might be grants for that too.
There very well could be on that.
We got our TIG grant,
But
43,000. All right, anything else on that one?
no, he answered that. He also, I was saying earlier, I gotta ask you about the showers.
Yep.
Here, so.
Bus shelter,
Bus shelter, yep.
yep, and then the corner office elementary, again, Kathleen's like, yeah, I'm fine here. She
Well,
really
you
would,
know, yeah, I know, it's, I don't want to put her on the back burner, but from a space perspective, I still, that right there is, that's
I think that would
very
be
highly
amazing.
usable space.
Mhm.
I don't want to call it dead space because I haven't been here long enough to, in the history and stuff, but I still wondered about that. It's like, okay, but that seems to be a logical
Yeah.
location. So
And a relatively simple, to do.
simple,
relative.
just like cost is a whole nother matter.
Yeah. All right, any other questions on my list? And what I will do then is I will take the list that I gave you, the paper copy, and I will take off the done stuff, put on the new stuff. And then I was hoping I had this, maybe we could prioritize a little bit, but I think the guys aren't here. I'm fine, as long as we're still moving forward. on
On
it.
your Excel, I put another tab of completed. Don't get rid of it because
Oh, I just make them,
because it's it's accomplishments. It's like, listen
Yeah.
to what we've done over the years.
I
It's
just cross
almost
them
like
out and
just
make a copy.
put it on another tab, task completed or whatever. That's my recommendation. Just because people, they have short-term memory only, and it's like, well,
Yeah.
we haven't done anything here. Well, yeah, here you go. Look at this. We've checked these many things off. That's a lot of things.
Yeah, it's a lot of things. We've done miraculous things here so far. And now that the blacktop is done, I'm like, oh, no, I do little cheers.
Well, I'm looking forward to homecoming this year. However it does look, whatever it may be, but you go through the school right now and the facilities and with the parking lot and the gym, and a lot of people haven't been to that gym since all that's been done. And even with what Upper 90 did, and just the improvements.
Yeah.
And even down the old gym, the lighting down there, things like that.
Oh, and the kitchen's all different down there now, and just, it's amazing. So,
And when we get to striping on the parking lot,
Yeah.
it's really gonna jump.
yeah. So we have, and it's on the board agenda, but I just wanted, because this came up last month for adding a tech ed teacher. We have an applicant that's willing to take the ag position. Not tech ed.
Okay.
So I did ask, if the nurse is funded by ESSER money, which it should be, Cheryl put that position in the budget. I could
Oh, okay.
take that out and pay it with ESSER and hire a new teacher.
All right.
But technically, we could do that.
Okay.
So. I'm just gonna just throw that out there.
my question is where to put it. And we talk about this, and I guess and I know that that's the bus maintenance area, but how often is that used? And that's one of the questions. It's almost like your choir. It's like, well, okay, we got a situation here. And, one of the board members and I were talking extensively about, and we were talking to a builder about the bus garage down there. I'm always making directions are screwed up, but building a bus garage, but I'm always looking at what do we have to utilize the space that we have, and how often is that a bus parked in there? And is to me that space that we have that's turnkey, ready to go. I mean, it was when I was there. Granted, that was dinosaurs were around, but it worked fine. It's big enough we wouldn't need it only to do tech ed. And I know the bus drivers don't want to be displaced out of that classroom area, but also that begs the question, depending on scheduling, could there be, I think we have to have a hard delve into this. I wasn't thinking about a tech ed teacher this year, though I'm not going to throw it out the door. I mean, that's really more your call, administration's call. I don't, understand how all that works, but to me, there is a strong consensus around that. Everybody we talk to is that we need a tech, we need ag, and it's great that we had both, but we know from talking to talent that would potentially look at the school if we had one and then the other both.
Right.
And we have segregated areas for those
Right.
areas. And then for me, from an education standpoint, we need tech ed. We need to delve and push tech ed.
Uh-huh.
And I looked at it, I could talk to the metal machining companies in Platteville, or not Platteville alone, Grant County. And, in theory, what could we possibly get donated, from older equipment,
Right.
but still highly functional. And even some of these welding companies that, I saw the company bring up the robotic welder over in, I can't think of the company's name, 4Y Innovation. That company came up, and this is part of the Lincoln company. They just donated. Oh, here, it wasn't the robotic, but it's like, oh, you just need a wire feed welder. Here you go. We'll do this. You just make sure we get recognition for it and stuff. But it's a tax write-off for all intents and purposes to them. But it's a good. But you help push the tech ed is needed. But where do we put them? That's the only logical thing. I mean, I'm not going to say you can't.
No.
I don't know how you juggle, and that's the thing. Can you juggle two teachers occupying?
There is an office, believe it or not, that could be used in the tech ed area.
I think I understand what you're talking about.
That person would have a dedicated space for their desk. And again, right now, the schedule is that they're like every other hour. Because it was one person. I did talk to one person that would actually be interested in the position. And they're so excited about what it could be. And I said, that's part of what we need. We need somebody that knows the business, that knows what the businesses in our area need. And the goal is to get the tech ed certifications before they leave here, a welding, something.
Yeah.
Just like the egg, somebody was mentioning, the applicant we had was talking about getting a pesticide application certification.
Oh, sure. That's good.
That's a good thing to do because they can leave here with a ready-made job done because they've certified already. So if we start thinking along that route, I know we'll have more kids come. We'll need help from businesses to say, this is what we need. But if you have somebody that's already in the business, they already know what you need and they already have those connections. That can say, hey, I'd love to teach welding, but our welders are 10 years old. Do you have anything that we could use? I don't know. So it's doable this year. I'd love to be able to add classes, but again, first I have to go through the steps. We would have enough money for the tech ed teacher, so long as we still get our SR2 money for the nurse. So I was very happy to hear that she had put it right into the budget. So it's doable to a point because there might be some salary things.
But as we talked about with the capital improvement plan, we start talking about the space. that's the question that keeps popping in my head. Is that space totally down there off,
No,
totally?
it's very usable.
Then that's where
extremely.
I haven't, because I'll drive up by there and I'm like, okay, the buses are all out. They're not, and I know that maintenance is being done, but from time to time. But is it to a point that it ties up that period for 24/7? Or for during the 5 days, Monday through Friday, or even, for that matter, I mean, even, and I still think of maintenance, bus maintenance as being my gosh, that's a good teaching tool to teach the kids how to change the oil or change the brake or
Yes,
whatever. they
that's a
do.
class.
It's a class. And
They can do it right there and
diesel
learn.
mechanics,
Yeah,
I-
small engines, large
Small
engines,
engines, right.
diesel engines.
Yeah.
Yeah, tons of things that it can do. And I was very excited just to talk to this person. Again, it's all got to go through you guys as the
Yeah.
board. But you brought it up here first, so I wanted to make sure that you knew that we were
this is a
looking
high
into it.
priority. I will say of the things on there, the adding a tech teacher right now is very much at the top end of the, when I talk to the people in especially with Mr. Favreau retiring.
Yeah.
That's really been brought to a head by parents, by community members, by other board members. We need to do something about this.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I think they're planning about, in my case, I was looking at the not this coming school year, but the following school year. But if if we can pull it off, I guess
There are circumstances in the wings that are allowing it to happen. If we had budgeted for the nurse, if we, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, then you have, so the rooms, yes, and definitely we could have the egg shop down there, or we could have, maybe egg needs to be in the greenhouse more often. I don't know. There's all that kind of stuff that we can work on if we get there.
Okay. That's, anything else under old business, new business, obviously 5.1, we're talking about that. I think we've covered that. If there's questions, comments. 5.2 compensation plan, monetary schedule.
So these are two different things. So the plan is what was developed. And again, part of this is just knowledge for the committee members. So I've got it on a couple committees.
Yeah.
It doesn't 100% fit in here until we start talking about where we are versus, or I can tell you that one other person wanted to be. So this is the entire plan. It's, I don't know if it's 30 pages, whatever it is, 25 pages. And it just basically delineates how a person moves through the plan, how they can, what can you do to earn points? What can you do to get more money? So this has not been changed since we started. Since we adopted this plan, we haven't changed it because it's really just a how to.
This is a couple years old now.
Yes. But it's the plan. It's not monetary. It's
Correct.
just about the
Plan.
money,
Okay.
about how
I
you
see.
earn it.
I see.
So you can do credits. You could do a district sponsored course. You can get accredited in something. Okay, and then it tells you how to verify it. Okay. Salary adjustments due to professional learning points. So we have in every area, we have 5 things, and you'll see it when I get to the other one. And so everybody just moves up through the 5 every year. And then we had placed people on the schedule, and because they were at F versus A, they didn't have to have so many points. So that's what this section meant. That's all of that. You get more money if you have your master's. This is how you get evaluated on it. And length of service, individual salary stipends. So this is your fair labor market standard. So we might have to pay more money for an ag teacher or pay more money for a math teacher or whatever. That's where this is. And so really none of this has changed. It's the same. So we currently have one of these, and that person is getting paid a little bit more money because they're an advanced certified practicing social worker. Same thing if somebody were to get, maybe it's this one, I can't remember which one she is, I'm sorry. Okay, Then there's a few things about forgiveness and loans, having a mentor or coaching or peers. And then there's the actual points. So the idea, and let me just pull up the other thing really quickly. This is our current plan. So to everybody, if I were to start at a brand new teacher with no experience, I'd start right here at 36,940. And then next year I'd make 37,940, and the next year I'd make 38,940. So the idea is that the first 4 years you get good at your craft and you get $1,000 raise just by being good. Then the next 5 years, you're still getting a jump every year. This one's actually a $2,000 jump. Then there's 1,000. And then I call these bars. So in order to jump this bar, you have to have your points. So all the A's, I'm sorry. Oh, these are doubles, A, B, B, C, C, D, D, E, because it's all one level. But the idea is that our staff is getting good at what they're doing. And then they get a $2,000 raise. So within 5 years, you're making 42,000, almost 43,000. And then they can get up here, and you can sit here for the whole rest of your career. If you don't make any advancements in your own professional development, if you don't get your master's, a lot of people will take like from here to here and get their master's, in which case they get a $3,000 raise. So if you actually worked for 4 years and got your master's the same year you moved here, you get a $5,000 raise here. So it's $2,000, I'm sorry, it's $3,000 in this column. So the points are a little bit more applicable. It makes a little bit more sense when you see the second section of the bar. So, and this is what we do if we hire somebody. If I hired somebody and they had their master's and I put them at 57,640. So that was agreed to by them and the board, and they're hired. So now when you're here, you can go 1 year and get a raise, and they can stay here for forever if they don't get any points. If they do get, and they would be prorated. The idea is you get 600 points in the 5 years, but this person's only got 2 years to do it. So they 125 a year, so 250. So they have to have 250 points to jump this bar. And again, when you jump, you get a $2,000 raise. These are all 700s in here, but from here it's 58 to 60. And then we go up to the very top, and then it's just 700 from then on. When you get to emeritus, either at masters or now masters or masters, and then you just get 700. So going back to the points, wrong one, sorry. So everybody needs to, this is our, it's still the original. We have already tweaked this a little bit, but the staff all know that. So because we've added a few things. So if you go to a workshop at CISA and you went all day and we didn't pay for you to do that, meaning it wasn't one of your days and we didn't pay for a sub, then you can have 50 points. And then you learned something. If you came back to Ithaca and trained somebody on what you learned, or you shared it with us in a meeting, we all tried something new, you can have 75 points for it. For every 1 college credit, you can get 100 points. So if you take a 3 credit class, you got 300 points.
Yeah, clarify that for me.
Yeah. Below this line is recognition of the fact that you're a salaried employee, and sometimes you stay late, sometimes you come early. So after our staff meetings, a 504 meeting, an RTI meeting, an ACT prep thing, Ms. Durkin did this. I was very happy. She did a community, well, not really community. She did it for the teachers last year. She had a class for the teachers for art. CPR training. So long as we aren't paying for it, that's something that makes you a better employee. But it doesn't that makes you a better teacher. It makes you a better employee. So you can only have 200 points per level. So if you're going to have 600 points, 400 need to be really professional development and the rest of it. So when we talk about jumping the bar, that's when they have to have their point levels. So the plan hasn't changed. The salary, the compensation scale has. So when we talk about last time, we added 400 right here. And so every single one, they're all at 940, 940, 940 until you get to the one, and it says 640, 340. Oh, they're different prices. I'm sorry.
I noticed that.
I don't know. I don't have exactly, but so when I do have to hire somebody, what happened, and this is happening a lot lately, I've got 3 or 4 employees that are upset, and we talked through it a lot at the board, but somebody's been here, say they've been here 16 years. So what they're doing is they're counting 10, 15, 16, so they think they should be here. Which on the old scale, they would have.
Pre-Act 10 versus post-Act 10.
Correct. And when we moved, which was post-Act 10, when we moved to this compensation plan, we made sure everybody got a raise. And it had to be a certain amount of money, or we boosted them up. So they all got a raise and they were placed here. So really, these are not years of service
Correct.
per se. And everybody just goes, well, I've been here 16 years, I should be making $52,000. That's not how it works.
And I remember that conversation when that was adopted. Steve Lewis explained it, that this is not exactly what you said. This is not just solely if you just sit back and just hang out,
You can be here, you can be here for the rest of
you're
your,
gonna be there.
that's
Correct.
okay. Well, you might get a raise if we add money
And we
to
were
the
at money,
space. Yeah.
correct.
So that's where the people are upset, because now it's post Act 10 and I'm putting people, they're asking to be placed someplace. I tell them, well, that's not my decision. That's the board decision. We talk about it in closed session. You guys agree or don't agree? And it's a market thing.
Yes,
So-
it is a market thing. That's when I've had that discussion with a few
And,
people.
and I feel bad because there are some employees that probably aren't making as much as their peers because they've been here.
Correct.
So, and it's hard, that's a hard thing. So,
It is.
and it's inequality that I can't fix. Nobody can really fix it, because as soon as I give one person, okay, well, all right, the other's teacher of this makes this, fine, I'll give you this much money. And then up 4 other people go, whoa, where's my raise? So so I was very happy that the board decided to add the 400, because then everybody got at least 1,100. Some of them got, if you got a master's, you got a $3,000 raise, you got a $400 raise, and maybe you jumped a bar and got another, you could have made $5,400 more from one year to the next. So
That's always a good discussion. We always have to go back to it, because how many people forget why is it that way?
yep.
And it doesn't mean that it's perfect. We'll evaluate, and we certainly have understood that, and that's where I've had the discussion, and the board's had the discussion about we have to evaluate things as they're presented, just like trying to attract teachers in and being competitive.
Yep.
We've had that discussion, but that's for the board to decide. We'll have those discussions as needed.
And I have added some stipends. So some of the work we've been doing, especially with this RPIC grant, it's a lot of work on top of their work schedule. So they've been getting more money from the grant to honor that time that they're doing. They're helping. And, if you really want more money, then you probably should do more.
Correct.
That's kind of how it works.
And I've asked questions of other administrators around the region as I know them, and I found one was interesting that there were stipends they brought up, that if they go to this training, sort of like this workshop, and they come back and they apply it in the classroom. Well, the principal has to sit in there. This is how it's done in one district. The principal sits in the classroom and decides they got to score them 1, 2, 3, or 4. 3 and 4 are good. 1 and 2 are not good, or not good enough. And if they're 3 and 4, then they'll get a stipend added right to their salary. It boosts their salary up from
Nice.
that. But the principal has to make that determination. And in this size of school, I always get a little bit nervous, because we're a very close-knit community.
Yeah.
And if somebody said, well, do I get the get the raise, I would hope that, or hope us to get a stipend and increase in my salary. It was just, this was not a small school that I was talking to, but I was like, oh, I don't know. I couldn't envision that being effective. It could be, it might be, but it would be one of those that
It's a little judgmental.
it is a little judgmental.
Yeah.
And I don't like, I like it being a little more black and white than that. Okay.
And I'm open to options. And I have had some staff members say, let's talk about they want to talk about the salary schedule. I said, no, I'll work on the compensation plan. If we can add some more things so
Yes.
people can get more compensation, maybe they would like to get a $50 here and there. I don't know. I just don't know. It's the same thing with the insurance. If we can look at different options, maybe we can save them some money. I don't know. I don't know without looking at it. So.
Okay.
All right.
Anything else on that? 153 after school programming.
So I had another meeting tonight. I'm going to be bringing some numbers to the board. And just letting you know that after school programming is different from the daycare. We're going to start with after school programming. I'm pretty sure, and again, I have to look at, we did get a grant for SEL, and I think we can use that money to cover the beginning of the school year for it. The people on the committee, we need after school programming for parents. It's basically they need childcare. There's no place to send the kids, and they're being turned away, and then grandma has to come get them, or it's just really hard for parents. So we're hoping that it'll be free. It's just till 5:30. They'll have a snack, maybe some reading time, definitely homework time and physical activity. And it's not going to be real structured, but with a couple grants that I applied for, and there's another big one that I can apply for. Hopefully that'll help fund it. Again, I was going to use the ESSER 3 money and don't know quite if it's going to be there. So I'm hopeful, and I like I said, if I can get maybe 2 or 3 kids to open enroll here or just attend here, they know, because they know there's going to be free childcare after school, it would pay for itself.
Right.
So I mean, when I balance that out, it'd be worth it. So really the only huge cost is the staffing.
Yes.
And we just need to know how many kids are going to come and how many people we got to pay. So, but that's really in its infancy, and probably after the board approves, I would hire somebody to take charge because I don't have time to run after school programs. I can get one started and have somebody else run it. So, I think that's it. Any more questions?
Item 6, discussion of other matters of building and grounds. Anything, Frank?
What? Signs.
Oh, yes,
Oh,
yes.
signs.
Did you see the sign?
No, I have not seen the sign.
So,
I saw.
You know, I thought about that till right now, duh.
yeah,
I saw-
and you
I
put them
saw
on there. I'm
Alan.
like, oh, I didn't even get to see them.
I saw Alan and I was like, good.
So they're really nice signs.
They're bigger than
Yeah.
those are too well. That one, Jones is like 2 by that.
And where do you think you could-
Well, that's a good question. I was thinking 2 by 1, honestly, so I told Alan. And so I was thinking that before 2 feet for responses. Well, I was thinking in the gym on the right side, that, bets are off. I haven't looked at it. Didn't think of that for me. I didn't put
But I didn't realize they were this big.
I didn't realize it was big either.
So we really, I mean, and we want to hang it because we do want, but where do we think we should? So that was,
This is just my.
Because because I'm like, okay, the facilities.
It would be nice to have a plaque so big and then have different things up there. Like, okay, this is the sound system sponsored by, and then you can have the names of it. And people walk in the gym, they would see them all the time. And then next time, if they went and sponsor something else, then you can put that up. But I don't know, my personal opinion, which doesn't mean a whole lot, but I think it was tacky to have like stuff for the homes, hanging in the gym, and then a circle wall, and it's.
I asked them for the logos, and I knew that was, when they sent that to me, I was like, okay, it's a circle. But
I mean, maybe it looks like a lot of it looks better than what you think after you hang it to the side. It would be nice when it would be a lot of money.
basically more like that, more like this is like, but this is, I want like, I didn't specifically say in 2 by, like a 2 foot by 1 foot sign, because he had the ones there for Riverdale School, sponsorship recognition, Riverdale. And I said, yeah, just like that. And like I said, they were probably that.
I was surprised when that's a different size. It's a different size.
I think that was gonna be a little bit.
I understand that.
That was interesting.
So we're hoping that we can just go look at it quick. I don't know if,
We'll set the date, then we'll.
Yep.
adjourn and look
yep,
at it. Okay.
You do want to recognize it, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Part of the sponsorship. And, so we're figuring August 4th.
that is the next one. Um,
Bob Busher, did he say he had a problem with Wednesdays? I can't remember.
he might have, and we don't have to, we don't really have to set it now.
Right now, August 4th, I have an appointment at 7:30 with family, so that's.
And I have a 5:30 meeting, so it won't work earlier and it won't work later. So the,
The Tuesday before, the 3rd. You,
that is our national night out. We can have free dinner on the police
I'm not
officers.
gonna disrupt you on that, so.
Everybody gets it. Everybody can go and have free dinner. It's a national night out, no alcohol, no smoking at the, it's to show that you can have fun without alcohol and vaping and smoking.
Right up my alley.
There you go.
Well,
I mean, that's only part, we have we usually meet at 6. I can go before that.
we can even probably do 6:30.
So should we tentatively set it for the 3rd at 6:30? We'll double check with Mr. Boucher on Thursday, August 3rd at 6:30. Oh, I wrote 6:60. Oh, if I could go back to high school and take typing.
That's from he said that. That's why they moved this to Tuesday.
Yep.
Thursday, Wednesday.
And what does Mr. Boucher do?
He works for Shriver's now. He works in the freezer
Okay.
area like 3 days a week.
Okay,
I didn't know what Bob did either, or, but he's been does this, but he's kind of like a specialty job that he goes in. That's my understanding. It's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is what he works.
okay. So stay away from Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays.
Okay.
Yep.
If I understood him correctly, that may not. We'll do- it's good for them, and hopefully. At least. it's not all 3 weeks.
All right.
Else on that?
No. I'll turn this on. All right, everybody, which is out there? I don't think there's anybody out there.
Well, sounds like that.
Let me stop sharing and end the meeting. Bye, y'all.
Well,
Yeah.